Hi, guys. Dr. Pam. Welcome to Academic Coaching for World Changers. We have so many NCE, LPCE, uh, drug and alcohol counselor. We have so many followers. I am so thankful for all of you that trust us. I cannot tell you what a big deal it is to us. When we first started many years ago, when I first started, I was a solopreneur. It was just me. And I just wanted people to pass the test. I'm a firm believer that it's a stupid sheet of paper. I realize that I live in a world where people, the tests we take, they don't look like me. It's not written for people like me. And we can always just remember we study old, white, upper class men. And social workers, if you follow the traditional Eurocentric view, we follow Jane Addams. Jane Addams was not poor, right? She was a wealthy woman who had nothing else better to do with her time. I can definitely go back and give you some of my own thoughts on personal history that social work started in Africa and what it looked like. However, that won't help you pass the test. Our goal is to help you get this stupid sheet of paper. And literally, that's what we say. I believe that you were called for this test. You were called to be in this field before you were even born. I'm a firm believer in Jeremiah that when he put you in your mother's womb, you were called for that. As a college professor, I know many of my clients have gone through some ups and downs and some hills to get here, but that makes you a much better social worker. I will never, ever claim to make you a better social worker. That is not our goal, never. We're very thankful. We probably have about 4,000 views every day, and we definitely know that what we do is working, and it definitely changes the world. As a social worker, it is a hard market to break into because you have 17 different thousand choices of people to choose from. I know the competitors, and I'm never going to badmouth anyone ever, ever, ever. I think that it's important to work together, and there are definitely different concepts. I will let you know, I've never been a fan of the acronyms. I can barely spell my name right some days. I can't do the acronyms. And also not a fan of saying that you should just take test questions. The goal is to learn content. You took at least one class on the methods, and that's where those acronyms come from. Again, not a fan. I do believe that we assess first. We get paid to be nosy, right? That's our job. We get paid to ask questions. Your mama said, don't ask. The question is full of feelings. If I'm boo-hooing, I'm not going to ask you, what is your age? That's what we do. And of course, my safety and the client safety always comes first, and termination starts at the beginning. We know that when a client comes in, whether it's a hospital, whether it's an individual or group session, that termination starts at the beginning. One of the things, remember, is that we teach concepts. The same concepts apply to whether it's an individual, a couple, a family, group, or community. I know, community too, right? When we assess the community. When we come up with treatment plans, we work together with our client. If the client is my community, that's what we do. I'm not going to ever tell a client what to do. I'm not going to go into a community that I don't live in and tell them what to do. I say that to say what you'll find is we're really trying to focus on the KSAs and the concepts. Every question you take is based on concepts. It may be listed as a first, next, or best question, but it's still knowing content. There are two parts to this test. Content is, do you know what biofeedback is? Do you know what coaptation is? Do you understand the concept of the Fritz pearls and the empty chair? That's the content, right? However, the questions are not just measuring who is Fritz Pearls, it's measuring that content, then in applying it. And that's what you learned in social work school. Okay. Don't ever claim to make anyone a better social worker. I just claim to make you a much better test taker because there are rules for standardized tests, and many of us just weren't taught those. So then, the strengths perspective, you'll say that a lot. I hope that many of you have used that in real life. Remember, we're not trying to memorize concepts. We're trying to take the concepts, bring them into work, our office, and say, "Hey, I use this perspective." Remember, the test does not care what you think, unless you see your first name, last name, agency address. We don't care what you do. We care what the textbook says. What is the strengths perspective? I can tell you personally that I've had to use it many times. I've had clients that perhaps I didn't like. Oh, let's be real. I just didn't like them. And that's countertransference, right? When my stuff gets in the way, always seek supervision. Once you get your license, LM, LC, whatever, you're always going to have clients that rub you the wrong way. That's human. Make sure you seek supervision or consultation if you have your license. We're human, whether it's now or 20 years from now and you've been in the field forever, still run it by somebody because we're human. I had a particular family that I was working with, and you'll probably see this if you watch any of my videos, if you're a subscriber. A particular family, and she was a African American woman, and we were about the same age. She had 4 boys under the age of 6. At this time, I don't have any children because I can't afford it yet. I'm struggling to get through school. And what I saw is I would go and do home visits, and mom would get off from work early and she would stop and get her nails did. She would stop and get Red Lobster. She would stop and have a great meal. She would then leave her kids in an aftercare program until about 6 p.m. And when she went to pick them up, then they were on their own. She made peanut butter and jelly. I can get more into this. I definitely get more into this. But one of the things that really caught my eye was only one child was my client. And the child had been, they'd been, what's the word I'm looking for? The child had been sent to a special education school, right? One of those schools where you can't behave. He was 5. He had brought a gun to school. And while waiting there, he couldn't go back to public school. So he was staying with his grandparents, his grandmother. I picked them up. I stopped by the house at the time. And what I saw was mom get out of the house and her van. There are steep stairs going up. And mom went in the house. Now, mind you, there's a 5, 6, 5, 4, and 2. Mom gets out of the car, out of the van, and goes in the house. Okay. And I'm watching this from my car. I'm watching it go on. And what I see is my client has his shirt tucked up. He's wearing a hoodie and he has his shirt like rolled up. There's like something in his shirt. I don't know how mom didn't notice. I don't know. So I get out of the car and I go in and I see he's got this stuff in his shirt. And I ask him, what do you have? What's going on? And mind you, I'm watching like change, silver and quarters, pennies, nickels, dimes, fall from his shirt into there's slacks right in the porch. There are openings, and I'm watching these coins fall out. Mom, when you picked him up, you didn't notice. I said to him, where did this come from? Where did this money come from? And he said, what money? What are you talking about? Incongruent, right? What's coming out of his mouth is not matching what I'm saying. And I'm pretty sure I'm not crazy, at least in this case, right? I was there about 4 or 5 minutes, and mom gets a call from a relative who'd been watching the kids. And mom says, did you take her money? Did you break open her penny bank? And the kid's like, no. I'm watching. I see this change. I see all of this change, probably $20 or $30 in change. He's 5 or 6. It's heavy. I'm watching it happen. And my only thoughts are, Mom, how did you not notice? She's yelling at him. She is yelling at the relative. But all I'm thinking is, Mom, how did you not notice? That was one of the many adventures we had. But again, again, at the time, I am married, wanting children, maybe at the time, um, but definitely not getting how does she not notice that? She hasn't seen her kids all day long, and she's got 4 boys, and, later on when I had kids, I was like, "When my kids come home from school, that's the best time. I'm hugging and kissing them and finding out how their day was." But this she didn't even notice. She didn't even notice. You've all been there, right? You've all had clients that you want to strangle. We don't say that out loud, right? Because we're professional social workers and we would never say that. But countertransference is real. My stuff gets in the way. I didn't understand how a mom could just not pay attention to her children. I didn't understand how a mom would go get her nails done and eat Red Lobster and feed her kids peanut butter and jelly. Just didn't understand. I had to work really hard. And mind you, I'm an LCSW in private practice at this point. I don't have any supervision. I do some case consultation, and this is where this case came from. He had brought a gun to school. I work with many local schools, well, actually, statewide, nationally schools, and trying to stop the pathway from prison, that pathway from kids get suspended, kids go to school, and they definitely end up now in our penal system. So I do a lot of research focusing on how we stop that. Suspending Black children, especially Black boys, when there's no one at home is not a good idea. So anyway, I know better. I'm a college professor and I took this case on. I know better. I know better, right here. I know better. I know better. Cognitive dissonance is what my head is thinking. Okay, Pam, this woman really has some issues. And my heart, right, is saying, I want to kill her. I want to take all 4 of those boys. Okay, not home, but to somebody else's home. What, mom? What? This is one of the real times I had to work very, very hard to find the strength. And I'll say to my social work students that sometimes that's what helps me get through when I really just don't like a client. We're human. We don't talk about it, but it happens. Remember, transference does not need automatic supervision, right? If a client says, "Hey, Dr. Pam, I think you're attractive," I'm going to say, blah, blah, blah. These are the rules, the boundaries of social work. It's expected. We're good. But countertransference, whether I like them or don't like them, is a problem, right? I don't get to bring my stuff, my judgment, my beliefs anywhere in the therapeutic setting. Okay. So I recall calling a friend, seeking consultation, and I've got to find something about this woman. I really have to understand. I want to help her. I want to make her life different and her child's life, her children's life different. I do, I do, I do. And by the way, the school is paying me like mega bucks. Remember, if you're a consultant, you make a whole lot more money. So that's usually not the right question or answer for the test. So anyway, as I'm talking with this woman, I'm trying to find the strengths. The strengths of perspective in social work is a perspective that emphasizes identifying, appreciating, and leveraging the strengths, capacities, and the potential of every individual. So the skill, it's definitely a skill. It's a skill. The skill allows me to shift my focus and to empower clients because I learn to see them through a different light. With this woman in particular, as I got to know her, I learned to understand that she had gotten pregnant in high school and that she was a senior and the baby daddy was the football player and had managed and promised to marry her. He'd gone away to school and he'd never come back. He didn't follow up. Her mother was a schizophrenic and not medicated. So she definitely had no idea what a healthy family should look like. And her father was in prison for murder, but it was related to substance abuse. She didn't have any siblings. She was raised by her grandmother, actually her great grandmother who raised her. How was she supposed to know how to parent? How was she supposed to know that kids' needs come first? That is really what helped me work with this client is focusing on her strengths. Okay. So, the core principles, again, you'll see this in a test question. You may not see the exact words, but you'll see a question about what do we focus on? We focus on what the client did. Oh my goodness. At the time, she was my age. She had 4 boys, and the rent was paid, the bills were paid, they had food, she had a car. The focus. She did things that she couldn't do that maybe I couldn't do at the time. That's what we do. We're going to high five them. We're going to acknowledge, hey, you know what? You did this. Later on in life, when I had kids, I always thought someone should just high five me because I made it to work. I had 3 kids trying to get them dressed. And if I went to work without Cheerios in my hair or a throw up on my shirt, I should have gotten a high five. Look at me, because that's all I had. That's all I had. Strengths perspective is really taking the time to focus on what is right. And so many of our clients, so many of us, no one ever says what I did right. What we say, and especially if they're in the CPS system or the teachers, we focus on what they did wrong. They already feel bad enough. They know this isn't working out. So why would I come in to try to establish rapport and focus on what they did wrong? It's a tough concept. I know that all of you have done it. I know that you continue to do it. All I want you to recognize is when you're working with clients, while you're during this time, that you really remember that's what you do. That's what we all do. That's what makes us so unique. We focus on what's going right, and we want to enhance what's going right. Let me just give you a couple, again, some verbiage. Empowerment. Oh, right. That's one of those words we see. Empowerment, and you might also see that in feminist therapy. Empowerment means I am giving you the power or helping you get the power to change the world. That's what I do in this business. I try to empower you. I want you to recognize how great you are. I want you to recognize you're an amazing social worker. And those test scores have nothing to do with whether you're an amazing social worker or not. I'm going to empower you to learn new test skills. Collaboration means we work together. Positive psychology. What? 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 Emphasis on the positive traits. Later on, you can go back and watch a video. I'll do a video or have several videos on solution focus. Solution focus is a very brief therapy. It's 6 to 8 weeks. Solution focus uses the term, the miracle question, the scaling technique, right? And the accept what's going right. So the goal with positive psychology, it is, especially with the solution focus, I walk in and I ask the clients, when is the problem not a problem? That's when I use the miracle question. If you woke up tomorrow and the problem wasn't a problem, what would it look like? Right? That's my 10. That's my 10. So every time I go back to the client, I'm trying to get them to get closer to their 10. I'm not asking them what's wrong. I'm asking them what's right. Okay. Resource orientation. Remember, that's what we do. We connect clients to resources. We do not give people fish. We teach them how to fish. If you are on a weekend and your client calls you and you're trying to get them food on a weekend, you are not doing your job. It's the same way as working at McDonald's. I don't check on the days I'm off if someone's salting the fries. That's not my job. To keep us from getting burnt out, we're always going to focus on giving them resources. As a college professor, my students are very aware that if you give someone a pencil, I'm going to choke you. Okay, not literally, but it's definitely going to have a come to Jesus meeting with Dr. Pam. If I give them a pencil, what happens when that pencil breaks? I remember a student specifically many years ago, and he had a older gentleman as a client. It was a hospice situation, and what he did is he mowed the man's yard. Sounds great, right? Where in social work school did you learn how to mow? That's not our job. And I can mow it once because I have crossed boundaries, but What's going to happen when I'm not an intern? Who's going to mow it then? The goal of that perspective is to give them people, set them up with resources that when I'm not an intern anymore, that someone else is going to mow that yard. Okay. Goal orientated. And remember, what we're always looking for, always, 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 is that the client understands that they're amazing. Another term that you might see is self-efficacy. That's a newer term from Bandura. Bandura talks about the importance of realizing that we can do this. I may not be the smartest in the bunch. It may take me longer, but I'm not going to give up. In some of my other videos and in live sessions, I talk about Michelle Obama, and her story says that she wanted to go to an Ivy League school, and her professor, her counselor said, "No, you can't go." Her self-efficacy said, "I'm gonna show you. Watch me now." That's a Bandura term. Remember, Bandura is social learning. Guys, I have so much content that I would love to share with you. I always want to make sure you understand and how it applies in questions. Sign up with us. We've got boot camps, we've got prep courses. At least subscribe to the channel because we release new videos all the time. We believe in one and done. I don't understand the concept of taking any test 5, 6, 7 times. And I also don't understand the concept of why you think that taking test questions is studying. We're good at what we do. It's a research base. We know that taking the time to study over and over again really rewrites those neural pathways. That's based on research, neurodivergent learning. So again, we didn't just pull it out of the air yesterday. It's really based on research, and we have an excellent, excellent passing rate. Join us, get this over with, and make lots of money and change the world. Thank you, guys. Remember to subscribe below. And if you need additional help, check us out. Not just me, but I have amazing staff, and all of my staff members, all of my social workers, NCE, LPCE, anyone on my staff has come through me. They've been trained by me, and they'll teach the exact same way that I teach. It works. Bye, guys.